PNC News, it's your host, Paulie Suba.
Hapade Guahusi Paulie Suba. It is another round of coffee with the candidates. This time it's the double shot. You may have seen some of these candidates, but you may not have got their message just yet. So we're going to reiterate their platforms. And with us today on this episode is on the Republican side, number 12, Mr. Don Ekalani. Thanks again for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me with you.
So I got a couple questions for you here. Looking at your platform, you're very interested in getting the economy back on track. We may or may not have the unemployment program come January if you become senator. Do you have like a roadmap to get this economy back in order?
Well, first thing we need is a majority Republican 36 legislature, so that any plan we do have will be actually taken seriously. And we've got good leaders in the Republican Party that, you know, they're on the same page as I'd say the Chamber of Commerce and a bunch of other island leaders.
Got you. Also, the vaccine. We've heard from the White House that a vaccine may be ready in the continental U.S. by October. We may get it in December. Are you in favor of the vaccine being on Guam? And would you be like, I'm just going to put it out there, would you be first in line?
I think that the vaccine should be made available for the most vulnerable. That would be the elderly and people with underlying conditions. I'm not an expert in exactly how that is decided, but I'd have to defer to the doctors and the I guess the CDC and other officials that they coordinate with.
Right. So if it's the White House that is endorsing this vaccine, you would also endorse it as well, or you would want to wait and see what happens in the continental U.S.?
If people want to try it, you know, President Trump supports the right to try. If people want to try it, they should be given the opportunity to try it. It's, you know, if they don't want to try it, then they should have the choice not to. At this point, I don't think that we're in a position where people will be forced to. So, in that context, if they're given the option and the choice whether or not to, and they decide they want to, they have a right to try, I think.
Also, part of your platform, I noticed that you are a big advocate for keeping the environment clean and green. Lately in the news, a lot of illegal dumping being taken place, especially at Marble Cave. Are you hoping to spearhead that? Are you going to be an advocate for keeping our island clean?
I think there'll be quite a few of us who would take up that leadership, and I think that's definitely I think a Democrat. A lot of Democrats are also in support of that. So I don't think I have any trouble having a partnership alliance with other leaders, whether it be Democrat or Republican. And it's definitely something we have to do. We have to take care of our island. We have to be an example to the younger generations. And enough is enough. We need to identify who it is that's doing this, and we need to, you know, deter them from doing it in the future. And we need to address the dumping that has already occurred and clean it up. So I kind of feel that we need to bring up the issue of recycle, reduce, and reuse, the program that we had enacted and were following in years in the past. Not sure why we can't continue doing that. I know it's going to be a little bit more expensive because China is not taking as much material to recycle, but it's an expense that we have to find a way to pay for, because we can't live in a polluted environment that's toxic and unhealthy. We have to look out for our families.
We've got more questions to ask Mr. Don Ecolani. Once again, he's number 12 on the Republican side, but it's not going to be me asking the questions. We've got Kyle Mandapat on Power 98 here on Coffee with the Candidate.
From Power 98, it's your host, Kyle Mandapat.
All right, hop it in, welcome back. This is Coffee with the Candidates Double Shot. Now, you know what? This is what the double shot really is. We are going to get into the minds of all of our candidates in a way that we probably haven't gotten to before. It's time to get to the nitty gritty and ask what could be really the toughest questions on the platter. Don, thank you so much for joining us again. My name is Kyle Mandapat, and I guess just to start things off here, Don, I really got to ask, and I know a lot of people are probably wondering this about you. Why run for senator? Was it a lifelong dream for you? What was your, I guess, dream job as a kid?
Actually, when I was a kid, I had a pretty good imagination. I spent my early school years. I started my school in the States, military family. So back in the late 70s, late 70s, of course, there's a lot of cowboy reruns. So, watching cowboys and Indians, but that's not a career, right?
No. Very nice, very nice.
No, but what got me interested in being a senator is, for years, I have a lot of relatives who are public servants, who are like uh, work in the public sector, work as apprentice, or military, or they work as teachers, they work as uh, trades, carpentry, electronics, all sorts of backgrounds, and especially the people who deal with like teaching, when they say, "Oh, tell stories of people who are lesser off." And of course, we also have uh, relatives, friends, relatives who are lesser off. Of course, my elders grew up under naval government, so everyone's pretty much in the same level playing field. We all farmed and ranched, so we have a pretty well-rounded experience. So when we see other people living in a more difficult life, a little bit lesser off, we're reminded that we come from humble. A lot of our relatives come from humble origins too,
Yeah, very, very
and
true.
yeah, and so there was this incentive to say, well, don't complain so much. Maybe look to see what you can do to help other people. And after years of hearing this, I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll look to see what I can do for
I love it.
you're going to challenge me. Okay, so I will go and say, okay, well, who's worse off? People live in a ranch. At least they're growing their own food. They have a some sort of place to go and lay their head. But people who are living homeless in the street, that's a different
Yeah.
story. So I tried a little bit of helping people, like advocating for the homeless, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Uh, got in touch with government officials, trying to understand what was going on, and come to realize, you know, also I would come in touch with people and say, "Are you running for senator?" I'm like, "No, I'm just trying to advocate for people who need help."
I love it.
And we're like, "Hey, uh, why wouldn't you run for senator?" For years, I would just go and I bug the senators and their staffers, especially during election year. Don't take my word for it. Ask a bunch of these senators that see me around. I mean, I used to hang out at Senator Pinko's office back when he was speaker, and from there on, I would just wander through, different offices, especially during election years, and learn the issues, and so after literally a decade or two of this, I thought, okay, yeah, I mean, the senators I really admired and I thought were really good people. They're not in office right now, like Esmond Don,
Well,
both
that kind of
father and
actually, I'm sorry to interrupt. It kind of brings me to my next question. I guess you were going to go there, but I'll just ask the frame. I mean, you have all of these inspirations and all of these great people that you had a chance to work with and your family. Who would you consider to be kind of your hero or your biggest inspiration in this whole journey?
wow, that definitely hands down goes to my elders, my grandparents. Just hanging around with them, hearing stories of surviving the occupation, the Japanese occupation, and I mean, initially when I was a much younger teen, I'm like, oh, another story. But then I was listening to it after a while, like, wow, I come to really think about it, the gravity of it, and you see these documentaries, for the Second World War, and as I got older, I came to appreciate what they went through, and then their perspective was very Christian, very forgiving, especially towards the younger generation. Uh, like the Japanese tourists who will come in and it's really like accepting of times you go forward and it's examples given by our elders that and of course our elders always turn towards our leaders in the church and the faith, so archbishop, depending on the archbishop and the experience, uh
Yeah.
you know
There's a
anyway
lot. I mean, like,
yeah.
like you're saying, right? There's so many great people, obviously, in your life that have
Pope John
led you to
Paul.
this. And we've
Pope
got
John
one more
Paul.
question, Don. I know we talked about this earlier on. I'm going to throw it to you now. Actually, I'm not even going to be the one to throw it to you. Elena from Dedido actually had this next question for you. It is our community call out. All right, you ready, Don? Here's the question. She asked,
Okay.
if elected, and we only got a short amount of time, so we got to keep this succinct, okay? It says, if elected, will you support a bill that requires all senators to adopt a roadway? So when you answer the question, just say like, thank you, Elena, and then get into the question.
Elena.
Yeah, Elena.
Thank you, Elena. Would I support a bill that has all the senators adopt a road? That's the question.
Yes, sir. Ready? Will you support a bill that allows for all senators to adopt a road or that makes it something that has to happen? Go ahead.
It sounds like a good idea. I don't know that I could force anyone to. Of course, a bill has to be voted on, but it sounds like a good idea to keep our roads and infrastructure well maintained.
Awesome. There you
So
go. You
my
have his
initial
word right there. And it's great to hear him. Thank you so much, Don, for taking the time to talk to us. And good luck, my friend, on the way towards the general election. Of course, it's right around the corner. Stay tuned, my friends. Right around the corner, we're going to get back into it with Senator Clint Ridgell here on Coffee with the Candidates, Double Shot.
Welcome back to Coffee with the Candidates, Cwtc, Pauly Suba. And I know we've spoke with Senator Clint Ridgell before, but we wanted to take this time to find out if there's any other updates. Hafaday, and welcome back to Coffee with the Candidates, Senator.
Thank you, Pauly. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we know that your campaign is Make Guam Green Again. Can you kind of expand on that idea?
Sure, thanks. So I ran with the campaign the first time I ran of Make Guam Green Again, and it means green with various things. So green with agriculture, green with environmental protections, green with renewable energy, green with cannabis. And I believe if we do all those green things, we'll ultimately be green with cash. And so I can go into more detail on each one if you like, or if you have any other questions.
Well, there's one that I'd like to know a little bit about. You introduced a bill, I believe, about making water more available and cheaper for farmers. Can you kind of tell us the mechanics and how that's going to work?
Sure, I'd love to. So basically, I spoke to a lot of farmers, current and potential farmers, people that have some property that they're very interested in farming. And one of the issues I've heard a lot has to do with the cost of water. Now, not just the regular cost of water daily for farming, that is an issue too that I'm going to be working on in the future as well, but also just the initial cost of bringing that water into their property. There's a lot of cost involved with bringing in the pipes to the property and everything else, and there's something, and the meters, and there's something called a system development charge that the Guam Waterworks Authority assesses to any new lines that are being put into a property. And those charges can really stack up, especially the system development charges. It all depends on the size of the line, um, the size of the property, how much water they're planning on putting into that area, and things of that nature. Basically tells you how much the system development charge is going to be. There's sort of a rating scale. So it's in the thousands of dollars, and it depends. It can range from a few $1,000s to tens of thousands of dollars to even more. It all depends on the type of pipes you're bringing in and how much water you're looking at bringing in. So I was told that it's just very expensive for farmers to do that upfront cost because they demand it upfront. Like it might cost like 15 grand upfront for some guy who wants to run some pipes into his land to farm a large area. It might cost 15 grand, even more sometimes. So with that, a lot of farmers and potential farmers asked me, could we do something to make it easier? And they asked, like, could we at least do it so that they don't have to pay the whole cost up front? Like maybe they just pay like a down payment on it, and then they can start farming. They get the water into land, then they can start farming their land. Then they can start selling the produce from the farmland, and then they can use the money they're generating from selling the produce to pay down the system development charge over time. Sort of like a loan, not paying it all up front, but doing it over time, to spread out the payments over time. So that's what the bill does. We hope to have public hearings in the bill soon, but the bill has just been introduced, so we're gonna have to go through the whole process. So that's what it does.
Well, I like that because you're helping a group of people, the farmers, but also it comes back to everybody on the island so that they can take advantage of going out and getting the goods from the farmers. Also, and it all kind of goes full circle with what we're dealing with now, the pandemic. And I think a lot of voters out there are just wanting to know what are our leaders going to do to help us get through this, especially into the next year. Do you have some kind of roadmap that you're already working out with the senators now?
Yeah, there's a lot of us who have been talking, and everyone's sort of been talking about diversifying our economy. That's a big thing, right? So there's actually multiple things. First, of course, we do want to get tourism back online, and that's going to take some time. Let me deal with that first. So getting tourism back online means, first of all, getting the pandemic under control, at least in our area, right? We got to get the numbers under control, and also put in safety mechanisms in place that our source tourism markets are used to. By source tourism markets, I mean places where we get our tourists from, which are places like Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan primarily. Now, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan do a lot of testing. They do a lot of contact tracing. They wear masks in public. And they have a lot of good sanitation practices, things of that nature. They employ digital contact tracing, something the governor just started to do. So I think that's a good sign. I encourage everyone to download the digital app and use it. It's not, the digital app parses out your personal information from everything else. So it's not an invasion of privacy. Matter of fact, if you're on your phone right now, on your cell phone, and you're going online and you're going anywhere, you're going Facebook, Instagram, anything like that, even just browsing online, the cell phone companies and the internet companies are already tracking all of your data, where you go. Anytime you click that thing that says, I agree, no one reads what it says on the I agree part. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but no one reads the I agree part on your cell phone or on Facebook or on Instagram. The I agree has a lot, you're agreeing to everything. You're saying you can collect all my data and you can share it with everyone. So I think people need to not be so afraid of that. With this particular app, it just allows the government to be able to see who's been in contact with people who might have coronavirus and help track them down. Won't release any personal information about you. So that's a good step. We got to do things like that these other countries are used to, because they use digital contact tracing in Japan and South Korea. South Korea for sure, I believe they use it to some level in Japan. And I believe they use it in Taiwan as well. But these are the types of things that they're using in these countries. Digital contact tracing, wearing of masks, social distancing, as well as lots of sanitation and cleanliness. And so if we do all of those things and testing, if we do all those things and we can get the numbers in control, we can encourage tourists to start coming back to Guam once we get our numbers down. But we're going to have to get them down before we can even think of opening up. The other thing is hopefully a vaccine comes out soon. Once a vaccine comes out, which we know the U.S. is really pushing, President Trump hopes to get it out before November. I don't know if it'll be out by then, but experts are saying it'll likely be out by the beginning of next year. So we're looking at January, February should be out. That will all help us get tourism back online. Now, to go forward from that is diversifying our economy, and that means creating new sectors of the economy. And that's why I've been a huge proponent of creating agriculture, things like that. Creating agriculture will create all sorts of new jobs, new revenues for the island, and also keep the money circulating on island. So what a lot of people don't necessarily think about a lot is when you buy chicken, say from Tyson Chicken, for example, that money, yes, you're buying it locally from the store, but that store had to buy it from the Tyson Chicken, ultimately from the Tyson Chicken factory in the States. So that money is going to that company that's in the States, that's off island, and that company's reaping the benefits and they're paying the taxes in their states for whatever chicken they sold to us here on Guam. Whereas if we keep everything on Guam, if the chicken is grown on Guam, sold on Guam, the money just stays in our economy and circulates. And that also adds to the robustness overall of the economy.
I know
Also,
we have, sorry,
go ahead.
Senator, I know we have more questions for you from Kyle Mandapat. So I wanted to be able to save that thought for Kyle Mandapat, but thank you so much. Got more questions here next.
Welcome back to Coffee with the Candidates Double Shot. I'm Kyle Mandapat, and now it's time for me to jump into the brain, into the hearts of our candidate in question this time around, Mr. Clint Ridgell. Senator Clint Ridgell, joins us here back on the show. Clint, thank you so much for spending some time with me now. I mean, Paulie had all the good questions. He stole my questions. I was going to ask you about the chicken and the process by which we have chicken on Guam, but you already answered it, so I'm so glad. It's good to see you. And I know that you, I mean, I'm just gonna say, based on what we've known and we've got to see, your family really plays a big part in your campaign and most especially in your day-to-day life. How are they doing here during the quarantine? What you guys been up to?
Just taking it day by day like everyone else. I mean, my kids are going to school from home, so they actually like that they don't have to go to school physically, and you'll be surprised, the online schooling stuff can be pretty quick. Like my daughter finishes her work in like 3 hours, but it's like she doesn't need the teacher, just give me the assignments and I'll do it.
I'll do it and I'll be done, right?
She's done, yeah. My son, on the other hand, takes a little longer.
That's true. I guess my question, a spin off of that is what was your favorite subject in school?
Pretty much like social studies and history, kind of stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, social studies. Very good thinking. Now, I guess that really plays a big role in kind of molding, and for a lot of people, you're kind of a champion for the different cultures that we have here on the island. Why is that such a big deal for you?
Well, for me, I'm multicultural myself. I'm half white. My dad's white, American. My mom's Cwtc. I was born here on Guam. I had a lot of friends from different ethnicities and nationalities. You name it, I've had. And then my wife is Chamorro, so my kids are very multicultural. Chamorro, Cwtc, white, and so I just think we're all humans. We're all part of the human race. So I think we can all get along and work together. We just got to get beyond some of our differences and learn to embrace each other's differences and work together.
Most definitely. I mean, my kids are half Chamorro, quarter Filipino, quarter white too. Altogether, I just call them confused. That's what I put on the birth certificate. So we're able to work with that. And I think, moving forward, a lot more people have the opportunity to come through and come up with questions. We actually have a great segment here right now. Clint, I'm going to get to a question that was submitted by Audrey from Zotnya, a little bit more towards the southern line here. Here is the question from Audrey. She says, okay, so her question, Clint, is, are you in favor of a smaller legislature?
Great question. Right now, I'm not. And the reason for that is because we've went from 21 to 15 in the past. We went from 21 senators to 15. Did it really change much? I don't know. I was kind of young at the time, so I don't really remember. 21 may be too many. But if we were to reduce 15 further, like say we were to go to less people, say we were to go to 9 or 7. I spoke with a guy once who mentioned 7. So let's see what happens with 7 senators. What happens is you consolidate more power in the hands of fewer people. And also with that, it opens the door for more special interests to be able to control just 7 people in the legislature. And control or influence. I mean, I don't want to be too mean and say control, but let's be real. There is influence, right? So one way to influence a candidate is by campaign contributions. So let's say that if certain special interests and some big businesses with special interests in mind wanted to really control and run the legislature, if there were 7 candidates, all they would have to do is totally fund the campaigns of 4 candidates, and they could get 4 candidates in there, and out of 7, 4 is the majority, so those 4 would rule the legislature. Just 4 senators would rule the legislature.
That is very Game of Thrones. Thank you so much for that, Clint. I mean, it's a big question. I know a lot of people have their thoughts on it, but we appreciate yours for sure. We appreciate you taking the time again to spend with us here today. That's going to do it for us on this round of Coffee with the Candidates Double Shot as we continue our trek towards the general election. We wish you the best of luck, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you.
There he
Take
goes.
care.
And remember to stay tuned right here to the TV stations of the Sorensen Media Group as well as our digital platforms to stay updated as we make that trek closer and closer to the big day. On behalf of everybody here at Coffee with the Candidates, I'm Kyle Mandapat for Paulie Suba. Have a good night.